Welcome to the Explainer. So, if you're a busy language teacher, you absolutely know the struggle of that very first lesson back after a long summer break. Your teenage students are sluggish, they've seemingly forgotten half their vocabulary, and asking that classic, "How was your summer?" question? Yeah, that usually just gets you a one-word mumble or a blank, zombie-like stare. Well, today we're completely tearing up that old script. I'm going to walk you through a highly engaging, plug-and-play 45-minute lesson sequence, and it is designed specifically to get teenagers speaking in the past simple tense from the very first minute. We're talking about transforming your classroom into a highly interactive, competitive, and structured learning environment. Let's get into it.
Here is the exact roadmap for our 45-minute chronological lesson plan. We'll start with a warmer called Guess My Holiday, jump into a summer categories game, test listening skills with truth or lie, get kinetic with a running dictation, maximize peer interaction through Find Someone Who, and finally bring it all together with a summer postcards follow-up.
First up, our warmer, Guess My Holiday. Flipping the traditional script works absolute wonders here. You know, instead of interrogating your students, you make yourself the mystery. Tell the class you went somewhere over the summer and they have exactly 20 questions to guess where. The catch? They must use past simple questioning techniques. Now, definitely model a few examples on the board first, like, did you go to Europe? Or was the weather hot? As they guess, you can grant bonus points for follow-up questions like, what did you eat? Or how did you travel? This immediately forces them to practice forming past tense inquiries in a genuinely curious, game-like scenario. Moving right along to Game 1, Summer Categories. The real secret sauce here is imposing a strict 5-second hesitation rule. It keeps the energy incredibly high and stops teenagers from overthinking. Here's a great pro tip for managing a mixed ability classroom during this. Arrange your seating in a big circle and use color-coded category cards. You could use green cards for simple categories like things I ate for your lower levels, and red cards for complex ones like things I should have done for advanced learners. If you have students with learning differences, just provide them with a visual word bank ahead of time to take the pressure off. And to really hook the teenagers, turn the whole thing into a tournament. Throw a digital scoreboard up on your interactive whiteboard to award points to teams who keep the category chain going the longest.
Next, we have Game 2, Truth or Lie.
So, you instruct each student to tell 3 things that happened over their summer, but one has to be a total lie. This instantly forces active listening, because the rest of the class basically gets to act as detectives. The actual skill goal here is constructing grammatically accurate, affirmative, and negative past simple sentences. To facilitate this smoothly, have them write their 3 sentences down first. And as a quick, informal assessment, you can walk around the room with a simple, icon-based tracking sheet, maybe just a check mark for correct verb conjugation and a minus for errors. This lets you provide immediate, quiet feedback without interrupting the game's flow. Give them a point if they successfully fool the class. Honestly, you'll be amazed by how naturally creative teenagers get when they're actively encouraged to lie to their teacher.
All right, let's get them out of their seats with Game 3, Running Dictation.
This slide breaks down the exact procedural cycle. For your classroom setup, you'll want to ensure the center of the room is totally clear. The writer stays anchored at the desk while the reader runs to the text you've posted out in the hallway. It is an incredible way to practice reading, speaking, listening, and writing all at the same time. For mixed abilities, pair a strong reader with a strong writer to balance the dynamic. That ensures everyone gets equal practice time. The primary grammar benefit we're going for here is translating a spoken, past simple narrative into an accurate written form, all under time pressure.
What's really cool is the follow-up step. Using a text like this one about a trip to Rio de Janeiro, students dictate the story and then immediately transition into forming WH questions. Your worksheet should prompt them to look at the text they just dictated and extract the core facts by forming questions like, where did you go and how did you travel there? It brilliantly locks in the grammar rule right after they've practically engaged with it.
Which brings us to Game 4, Find Someone Who.
Listen, before you hand out this survey, it is absolutely crucial that you model these exact past simple yes, no, and WH questions on the board. Seriously, don't skip this step. Lower-level learners really need this visual anchor. Show them that the phrase, went to another continent, must become the spoken question, did you go to another continent? Explain that if their partner says yes, they have to use follow-up questions to dig for details, perfectly mimicking a natural conversation.
Your student handout should look exactly like this clean, well-organized table. When you're designing these, try using simple icons next to the activities, maybe a tiny airplane next to different continent, or a burger next to new food. It provides a fantastic visual cue. The whole structure requires the interviewer to not only find a matching person, but to actively listen and fill in the details column. And to encourage your quiet students to really jump in, tell them they must speak to at least 5 different people to complete the grid.
Finally, we wrap things up with our follow-up summer postcards.
Ask your students to write a postcard to summer. But here is how you push their fluency to the next level. Challenge them to transition from simple past sentences into longer, more descriptive narratives. You can use an anchor chart on your wall featuring excerpts like this one from a British Council adventure story. Show them how to weave in descriptive adjectives and past continuous verbs. Something like, "My heart was beating fast when suddenly a jaguar crept out." This takes the writing from a basic, boring list of events into a really compelling story.
To finish up, have your students display their finished postcards on a big classroom poster titled Bye Bye Summer. Arrange this display in a highly visible area to create a wonderful visual anchor of their past tense achievements. And to close the loop on the lesson, give them a simple reflection question on their way out the door. What is one new past tense verb you used today that you didn't know yesterday?
And just like that, we've hit the end of our 45-minute blueprint. For new teachers, relying on a structured sequence like this is fantastic professional development. It really builds your confidence in managing game-based learning and mixed ability differentiation. So I leave you with this. Which of these structured games are you going to try in your classroom tomorrow to get your teenagers speaking with absolute confidence? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and have a fantastic time teaching.